Midnight on Earth podcast with your host, Jake Weaver. Engineered by Cedric Swan.
Hey everybody, we are back with another episode of Midnight on Earth. I'm your host, Jake Weaver, and we're here to bring you more knowledge, more light, and more love, and more incredible humans. We love connecting with the people out there that are doing the work, that are helping this thing, whatever this is, move forward. Sally Reid is here today, and she's going to talk to us about a lot of things. The quantum shift, how we can do better, so many other aspects of ourselves. And before we talk to her, though, I need you to do something for me. Follow me on Instagram at midnight_on_earth. That is the address. You can follow me there. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you go to get your podcast, click that button that connects us so you know exactly what is going on. When incredible people come on, you get that notification instantly to wherever you get that. And then you know to come here. And when you do, bring a friend, tell someone, spread the word. This is how we have been growing this podcast and will continue to grow. We're humans. Let's connect. You know who might need this information. Bring them here. midnightsonearth.com. Okay, so we are just about to talk to Sally. She's right there waiting for us in Tennessee, but I have to read her bio. So here we go. Sally Reid is an empowerment coach and energetic alignment expert for high-functioning, spiritually aware individuals who have done the healing, built the life, and still feel something is quietly off. She helps clients stop forcing outcomes and start listening to what their energy and body have been trying to say all along. Her approach blends energy medicine with insights from trauma healing, vibrational biology, and nervous system repair, bridging intuitive truth with physiological change. What sets Sally's work apart is her ability to channel the counsel of truth, a field of intelligence that speaks with clean clarity, dissolving distortion and mirroring alignment, rather than offering advice. After 2 near-death experiences, yes, 2 people, and over 15 years of client work, Sally offers depth, precision, and real energetic restoration to those who are ready to stop fixing and start living from what's real. And she's here for real with us today. Hello, Sally.
Hi there.
Wow.
How are you today?
Oh, yeah. I want to hear your story. I know you have an incredible
near-death
story.
Experiences. Yep.
I know you have a story. Okay, so look, the quantum shift, how to transform your life by aligning your energy. This is one of your core concepts, and this is some of the things you're teaching. But again, it's had a starting point. What happened with the near-death experiences?
Well, the first one was when I was really little, and I super young, and only the nurse and the doctor, well, the doctor, of course, believed me. I'm letting people know how old I am, but years and years ago, they did not used to intubate children. They used to put an ether cone over their faces to do surgery on. Yeah, they did. I needed surgery as a little child.
Wow. How young are we talking? Like 5, 6, somewhere in there?
Like 2-ish.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I have one of those memories where I remember things that normal humans don't remember.
Right.
Like I remember the moment when language changes from blah, 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 to, oh, look at the baby.
Wow.
You know, there's a real moment in a baby's brain where that happens. And I remember when that did.
All the information is there. I mean, it's all stored there. It's just how we access it, and you have the ability to access it more than others.
I guess so. And I think possibly the fact that you step in and out It did change me a lot since it happened so young. I don't really have an understanding of not being able to. And other people who have had near-death experiences will tell you that once you learn how to step out and step back in, stepping out and stepping in energetic ways or in like whole soul, just traveling.
Almost like astral traveling, but just being able to consciously make that choice to move out of the physical body.
You can.
Yes.
I got really good at it as a little kid because I was also born before the MMR vaccine. So I got every single one of those diseases, which I can testify are not pleasant. and they come with a very high fever and it's very unpleasant. So you learn to step out of your body so you don't have to feel the pain. And that's one of the things I got good at. But that near-death experience was so frickin' textbook. Heaven is real. It was so textbook. And I'm wondering if it's that way because I was so young. Like the beautiful light in the garden and the relatives and walking and speaking with the light beings, all the children talk about.
That happened, but you didn't have a frame of reference per se. It was almost archetypal, your experience.
Oh, it was completely, of course, I was barely verbal at that point. I mean, anybody know a favorite 2-year-old, get them to say a complete sentence besides no. I mean, I'm serious. So I remember it. I remember it well. I remember like drifting out of my body. And as a young child, if you remember being a little kid, little kids are very good at going, what are the adults doing? What's going on? And I remember doing that between the shoulders of the people. And I was looking, what are they doing to that little kid? And, oh, that's me. There's that moment where, oh, that's me. And then you feel the pull of the light. And then you walk with Jesus and you do all the things. It's not really, I didn't know who Jesus was. It was a light being and grandma was there and, the room was there. And it was all very, very textbook all the way up to the moment. And everybody says this, it's not your time. You don't get to stay. You have to go back. Everybody says this. But one thing they don't universally say, which I think everybody does, is like, it feels too good here. I don't want to go back. I remember thinking, no. I was about 1.5 inches from having a temper tantrum because I didn't want to go back. But then I woke up and there I was back in the hospital. And my mother didn't believe me that it happened. And I have a suspicion that the doctor did not tell her that I had died on the operating table.
Oh,
I have a feeling he had to go into full denial on it. Because, hey, this was 1960, 61. I'm telling on how old I am.
Oh, it's okay. Who knows how old we all are? How many lifetimes have we all had? I might have had 1,000 more lifetimes than you.
This is true.
But the thing is that energy, whether he didn't want to traumatize your mother by letting her know that information or was just taken aback himself, you still internalized that. And it was so real for you that became like a core memory, a core experience. But then it happened again. Like what happened the second time?
The funniest thing, I was a grown adult human being. I was 42. That is an official grown adult human being with full adult responsibilities. And a horse jumped out from underneath me and I landed badly and broke 3 vertebrae in my neck.
Ooh.
And that's generally a death sentence. And the way this one was, it was a death sentence. And we won't go into the miracle of what happened because that was that could be an hour in itself. It was bizarre. And the funniest thing, though, is the first thing I did when I got that above that body thing is, oh, shit, not again. That was like the first thing. I was like, damn, I'm dead again. I knew immediately.
Right.
I was like, this looks very familiar.
Like, I'm back in this dimension. I remember this.
Yeah, but it was an aw shit moment. You screwed up good this time. This one's going to be hard to come back from. And then you do that, of course, this time it looked a little different because I'm an adult. The world kind of went to a pinhole. You don't have their 360 view anymore. The world went to a pinhole. I walked walked through the barn, like, okay, I have to go this way. There's a knowingness that you have to go a certain way. So I walked through the barn. And the interesting thing is, as I walked through the barn before I went into the next dimension, when I was still in this third dimension, I looked at the clock. And it's so funny. It was 1:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It was like, I still remember that. And it was like, okay, I'm clocking my moment of death. It was that kind of a moment. And then I passed out of the barn and into the pure light. It was like pure light. And as I'm like, okay, here we go on the journey again. Here we go. Off we go. And I'm like, I'm wondering if I'll see grandma again this time and all this other stuff. And so I get up to the next transition point. And I get, I'm sure other guests have talked about the guys with the clipboards. There's guys with the clipboards that, I don't know how to say, like the tall beings of light that everybody talks about. But I always
I have heard. The clipboard part is new to me.
Well, it's like they have the clipboard. They're the deciders. They're the ones that, the tall I don't know. And and it was like, I go in there, and they're like, you have a choice. And like most adults, choices. We love choices. Let's hear the choices. What's on the menu today, kind of a thing. So as I moved forward and was about to go into what I like to call that moment of transition, they said, you have a choice. You can go back. And at the time I had 2 children under the age of 8. So they needed their mommy. When kids are that little, they need their mommies.
Definitely.
So I had 2 kids under the age of 8. And I went to go forward, and they were like, just hold it. You really want to turn around? Because I was like, oh, I could still go. And they were like, if you promise to do what you agreed to, you will go back to Earth right now. And I'm like, okay, the kids need me. They really need me. Okay, I'll turn around. But that funny thing was like, I kind of went into zombie flow mode, like all humans do. Like, okay, I started this journey and I'm going to keep going. And I almost went in full blinders. And I think that's interesting that a soul can do that as well as like a functioning human on Earth. It's like, I got my one-track mind and I'm going in this direction.
Like you got in the groove. You felt like that was the natural state of how things should be going. So you just kind of surrendered to it. But then there's still an awareness.
Went, hold it, lady.
Right.
You got an opportunity, what's it going to take to get you into this new car here? It was definitely, they wanted me to turn around. Like, you have a job. You're not done. Get your butt back there.
Right.
But they wanted me, and it reminds me of like those verbal legal contracts that the telemarketer, that you hear on the telephone. You must agree to X. You say the words. And they wanted me to verbally say, yes, I agree to do what you asked me to do.
Ooh, wow. They needed you to remember in a way. They needed to trigger that memory and then reaffirm the situation so you could get back there and do what you, again, agreed to do, which is what so many people talk about, the pre-life contract, the light being contract, where you make a choice to come here to help humanity, to help move this thing forward or to fulfill some role. But then, of course, we forget when we get here, the remembering is part of it. But then if you remember it, then you still don't do it. Then, you might get visited.
You kind of do. But afterwards, that's when the miracle happened. Because I agreed, I was popped back in my body, had a broken arm, 3 broken vertebrae in my neck. And I mean, the arm was literally snapped, like green stick snap through the ulnar and radius, like non-functioning flop. And I was like, ooh, that's not good. Farm girl here, Southern farm girl. But I didn't know about the neck. Of course not. How can you know? How would I know? I just knew I was all talking about the arm. So I walked around my day waiting for my husband to come home. Walked around. I finally get to the hospital. The people at the hospital start freaking out when they take, it's like, my neck's a little stiff. I see your arm is broken, but what's going on with your neck? And then they started like getting real quiet and running around and buzzing because evidently the break was supposed to be non-survivable.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And my orthopedic guy the next day lost it. Like the hospital literally sent me home because they thought their machine was so old that it was broken. This was in a small southern town in Georgia. And it was also in the 90s. And they didn't have the money for a good machine. So they thought it was an artifact on the machine. They thought that it can't be real because this person should be dead.
Wow.
And so go tomorrow to our orthopedic surgeon. We don't have an orthopedic guy here. You need to get a proper cast put on your arm. Make an appointment with him tomorrow. And so I walked around for almost 24 hours without anything on my neck and with just a splint on my arm. I took a shower.
That seems miraculous. You're saying it's a miracle. It's like, oh my God.
A complete and total miracle. And that's it. When I realized that's what was happening later, I was like, oh shit, that really, I wish you could have heard that orthopedic guy go.
Like he sucked in his soul. It wasn't even just his breath, like his whole being just went like,
oh, he lost it. He looked at it and he whips around and he screams, why are you still breathing at me?
Whoa.
He freaked so hard. And I'm like, I don't know.
But then at that point, I'm sure they treated it correctly, right? They put you in a brace, they put you in the neck brace and all of those things.
Well, he actually was a little miffed. And he says, your neck actually probably needs surgery and you probably should go to a hospital. But since you survived this long without any medical care, literally, these are the words in his mouth. He put a neck brace on me and put casting material around it and said, don't take it off. And that was the treatment I got. Wow. That and a cast on my arm.
So he knew that it was going to heal itself.
I don't know what he knew, but it did. And the really cool thing is when my older sister, who worked in a high-class Atlanta hospital and knew the neurologist for the Atlanta Falcons football team, his name is Dr. Chris Clare, she freaked out when she found out that I hadn't had any proper medical care. So after the cast came off, he did a bunch of work on it. He took an X-ray of it or MRI or whatever of my neck, and he had me into the office and he read it and he says, well, first off, the neck looks good, but you're grounded. You don't get to have any more football games. And stuff. I was like, sorry, you're getting benched. And then he says, are you sure you broke it? And so I brought along the original X-rays and I threw it in there and she goes,
wow.
Like that. Again, he goes, wow, that was a die on the spot neck thing.
So let me ask you this. You survived. They told you had a mission to complete in a sense. What would you say that mission is?
Well, in their words, would you like to know?
How about in both? Yes, in their words and then your perspective as well.
Their words were, your job is to heal the people and tell the truth.
Okay.
And I'm like, it took me probably 5 years to figure out what that meant. I'm like, a little vague, Spirit. Thank you. A little. This is what I'm understanding, is that through alignment with truth, the healing comes. It is when we get off, like when we put on our masks and we pretend and we live out of spiritual alignment, when we spiritually bypass everything, that creates a disturbance in the force.
Yes. Too
bad it's not May 4th. it creates a disturbance in the force, and your body has to compensate, and it costs it's energetically expensive, and that's what causes dis-ease. Anytime you're not living in full alignment with who you are. So yes, heal the people and tell the truth. That's what I feel like it means.
Wow. So that disturbance in the force you're talking about is, others might say, like a distortion in your auric field, and then interfacing with the greater flow of energy is causing dissonance, which creates this energetic situation, which leads to disease, like you're saying.
Well, anytime you smile when you really want to scream at somebody, anytime you say to yourself that I'm not good enough, so I'm going to pretend I'm somebody else, anytime you act out, you basically betray yourself and act on the wishes of somebody else. That's That's what's happening. You're knocking yourself. Every time you live behind a mask instead of showing up as yourself, anytime you shift yourself in order to please people instead of showing up, like I'm sitting in judgment of pieces of myself and I put them all in timeout, but I still carry them around with me. That's out of alignment.
Right. Because it's not authentic. You're essentially like rationalizing having these experiences, knowing that there's judgment or other distortions happening.
I think people learn to do it so young because it's a survival technique of humans. We're going to show up however way we need to show up in order to live. And then it becomes a habit, and then it becomes a personality. And people, like you all have seen these people where they have this gigantic false front. And then underneath, they're really squishy and dark and scared. And that is unsustainable.
Right.
That's what causes midlife crises. That's what causes, imploding your multi-million-dollar business or, being caught without panties by the paparazzi. That's what causes that kind of thing.
And then that is, like you said, spiritual bypassing, not doing the shadow work, things that all humans have to do if we really want to better ourselves, because doing that, bettering ourselves, as you teach people, really does affect the quantum field. It really does affect the world that we live in.
Well, also look at your language. We don't want to better or worse, because here's the thing in the quantum, and everybody who spends a lot of time there understands there is no judgment there. Right. It's just a 1 or a 0. It's an is or is not. And so we're not bettering ourselves. We're being, because we are human being. We're not human performers. We're not, well, some people get paid a lot of money to be human performers, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
We are showing up as our aligned soul selves. And most of us spend most of our freaking lives trying to figure out who the heck that is. Because who we were when we arrived, and not so much now as it used to be, especially in my day and age. The children should be seen and not heard. You don't have any problems. The full gaslight. Go play in your room. I don't want to see you. Go play in the street even.
It's very sad.
And Gen Xers can talk about it too, but I'm a boomer. And so, yeah, we all got it. That was parenting 101. And therefore, we learned to do what we needed to do in order to survive. And that is how we got out of alignment. And then oftentimes we forget that we're not 5 years old anymore, and we are the grown-ass adults. But we've hidden that squishy stuff so deep under the performance. That's what's going on.
Interesting. So what you're teaching people as an empowerment coach is getting that energy back into alignment.
Yeah, because then you don't have to, I don't know how to say this. Here, I'll give you a parable instead.
Okay, that sounds great. I love these things. This is a great conversation, by the way. I'm loving talking with you. This is amazing.
Oh, thank you. I'll say that this client's name was Nancy.
Okay.
And Nancy had so much struggle in moving forward with something that she desperately wanted to do. Every time she got close to it, she would either get sick, or there would be a tech problem, or there would be some other crisis somewhere else, or there would be some sort of energetic disturbance. And she kept pointing her finger outward. There, that's the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem. And what was really the problem was that she was using her powerful energetic alignment to cause a snafu wherever it came too close to the squishy part, because she had not accepted that squishy part. And so there were still the protectors at the door saying, you can't go near this part of you because that was uncomfortable. And yet she had no cognitive memory of it. And after just a few minutes of pulling it out of timeout, and that's the thing, it's not really shadow work. It's like, do you accept this piece as part of you? Yes, I do. Okay, cool. You're free to go,
Right.
5 Hail Marys and off you go.
Right. She was sabotaging herself energetically, unconsciously, because her greater self knew what was coming if those decisions were made.
Yep. Yeah. And people do this all the time. It happens constantly. And they're always going to point a finger outward.
Right, because they're not looking at the paradigms. They're not looking at the programming they're receiving, which creates the reality they're in. And people get comfortable. Their paradigms are predictable. They know the outcomes. They understand what the results will be. And that is enough for them to survive. Therefore, why would they push forward? But then sometimes they get these ideas of growth and change. But then, like you're saying, there's that sabotage that happens. And it really takes people, especially people that have been really programmed, to undo those, focus on those paradigms, undo and unlearn them, and then really grasp what's going on and what we can do as humans.
Yeah. Well, the interesting, and my guide said this to me the other day. They've been with me for a hot, long minute, right? And we have a bit of a relationship. And so they tease me a bit. And they're always talking about how humans are so good at making things hard. and it's like, you guys are so good at that. It's really not that hard. And
sometimes I wonder if we like suffering. Sorry to interrupt you there. I just wonder that.
Well, we do. Why do you think the first noble tenet of Buddhism is life is suffering? That's a tenet. Suffering is required in order to know that you lived. And it's not true.
I agree with you.
But what they want to remind me of is, and people in general, is you get to coasting, you think you got it. And the reason you get to coasting and you think you got it is because your brain is designed, and this is really true, is designed to keep you safe. And so when you get yourself in the safe place, it's going to go, okay, job's done. You did it. Check. Check. We're done. We did it. Stand down. Everybody stand down. And so we like that stand down feeling. But then there's this other piece of us, the piece, the spark that, oh my God, that would be so amazing if that's something I've always wanted to do. I've always dreamed of X. And that is always going to be pushing you out to the edge of where your brain is going, We didn't give you permission to go over there. You can't do that yet. And so my work is finding that wall and making friends with it. And it only literally takes seconds. And it's that simple because you put the wall there so you can take the fricker down.
Exactly. And I've heard people refer to that wall as the terror barrier. You have to remove the terror barrier to get to that next stage.
But we don't even remove it. That's, there are a lot of people, and over the years I've evolved. Used to be, we would go at the thing with extreme prejudice, right? we mean, like, you son of a bitch, you're a cord. You got to get out of here. But now it's like, honey, what you doing? Come here, mama, baby.
Exactly.
That's literally the level of it now.
Because think about that. That's so powerful. It's love, energy. Everything is energy. Everything responds to love. Love, they say, is the highest form of energy that we can experience. Supposedly, I don't know. I haven't tested that.
Higher.
But yeah, exactly.
But
that love is really what it is. That's the connective point.
Love is the power mover. And I've noticed that as I do more and more of this work, I'm in this frequency of love. And here's a good story for that. I purchased a quarter horse about a year ago. And those people who understand quarter horses, she's Hancock bred. And they're, number one, it's a mare. And number two, she's Hancock bred. And they are notoriously bitches. Okay.
High maintenance, you could say. High maintenance.
Well, they have an attitude. And most of it is, get out of my way, I'm getting this done. They're and she was trained to be kind of a machine. And I knew deep down inside there was a lovable animal in there. And I've had her about a year now. And just today, I turned around and I said, how you doing, hon? You want to go for a walk? Because I was walking in I exercise, right? And she's like, yep, let's go. She just wanted to spend time walking. And that is that's pure love right there. Like, yeah, there's my herd mate. There's somebody I trust. There's somebody I want to hang out with. Used to be when you walk near it, she'd be like giving you an ishy face and going, go screw yourself. I mean, like that was who she was. And now it's like she has been in this vibration of love. She's like, ooh, I want to get more of it. Let's go for a walk. Let's play. Let's have fun. Let's be silly. Yes, I'll still do my work, but I understand that life is more about love than it is about work.
Yes. And the horses themselves, people talk about how horses are so sensitive to energy. They communicate through energy, and you change the horse's frequency with your love, or really just show the horse that you are this consistent battery of love energy that would always show up, and built that trust energetically. And you talk about how your training focuses on highly sensitive people. Now, what do you mean by that? Can we talk about that?
Sure. Highly sensitive is a term created by Dr. Elaine Aron. And what she meant is people who are genetically predisposed to process dopamine and serotonin in a different way. Their receptors are different. They are very different. Today, people call them sensory process sensitive. Like they're the stuff that comes in feels louder than what everybody else feels. And it's generally about 20% of mammalian, not just human, but mammalian population. Everybody knows a dog that if you go,
oh yeah.
And so, that I work with those people because I am those people.
Right.
And I also work with those people because oftentimes those people go to therapy and become very frustrated because it feels worse instead of better. Because regular talk therapy is not productive for somebody who is a naturally sensitive processor. People call them empaths.
Yes.
And some people learn to be more sensitive through being traumatically changed. And you will change your DNA this way. I mean, that's a bold statement, but there are people who are put on this earth. There's nothing wrong with them, but they're going to jump out of their skin at a sound, or they're going to cry when there's too much light, or any of these other, too many people, there's too much information.
Right.
That is who they are. And that is why I work with them, because the things that work with them are not the same as what work with other people. Right. And that's probably one of the reasons why I love working with horses. And I used to pick the most sensitive breeds, which were Arabians and thoroughbreds. And anybody who works with horses understands those guys, you look at them cross-eyed, they're going to go, oh, what's wrong?
So you're not just talking about sensory information, you're talking about energy sensitivities as well. It's actually a combination of both of those things. But the people that have these sensitivities really are just processing more information. They have an expanded awareness. Would you say that's accurate?
I'd say that they're not culling out as much information. What I used to call people is super noticers.
Super
noticers.
Wow.
That's what they are. It's like they're going to catch the crap that everybody's missing. My son, bless his heart, was a super noticer. I said was because he's got plenty of testosterone, which does tend to reduce the amount of noticing. And this is scientific fact. Don't worry about it. Don't get mad, guys. But when he was a small child, even though his head was not anywhere near countertop height, right? I could bring something new into the kitchen and hide it at the back of the counter. He'd walk in the kitchen with 1001, 1002. Mommy, what that? Because he would feel a disturbance in the force. You know what I mean? It's like there's a new thing in the kitchen.
Right. There's an energy shift. He instantly picked up on it. Wow.
And kids have that. And adults have it too. They just learned to make them, they think it's their fault. They think they're broken. They think there's something wrong with them. And that is why I help these people get back in alignment and get into their full power.
Because some of those people numb their sensitivities with their own techniques to fit in more with general society. And you're helping them unlock that, to reconnect with that part of themselves?
I'm going to yes and that.
Okay.
Not only are they going to numb, I'm going to call it, they're going to create like this cantilevered box of functioning. Like I can go over here, but I can't go over there. And I can do this, but I can't do that. And, they create this maze of actions. And I mean, to me, when I look inside, it does look almost like they have, jerry-rigged this framework that they can stay safe inside of. But when you feel safe in your center, instead of putting all your energy out to your field to protect you, it's a whole different sensibility. What I first noticed, because I had that same outer framework where you carried this gigantic armor and you maintained all this energetic armor. And then my guides helped me realize that was a ridiculous waste of energy. Just move it in, get your stuff back inside the house. You don't have to guard the lawn, and have your core be, because we are all sovereign, I choose X and Y, and everything else can go screw itself. And it is such an empowering thing. Like those people whose sensibilities are turning on and the spirits keep coming and bothering them, you can say, I'm going to sleep now. You need to go away. And they don't bother you anymore. Or those people who are highly sensitive to walking around, you move yourself back inside your body, you fully ground. And, my shit is just as badass as any other energy that's out there.
Right.
And I can walk through life safe and sound because this is 2025 and I am walking in the middle of the day and I don't have to worry about the energy in the freaking Whole Foods store. I'm fine. You see what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, because
I am not a victim of your energy is the point of view.
Yes.
I am sovereign.
You're taking control of that and not allowing the energy to leak out in these situations that could be overwhelming. But do you see highly sensitive people in all age ranges, or is there a new cluster of these sensitive people being born more recently?
That's hard to say. What I'm seeing is there's a new availability of compassion that was never there before. Remember, when I was a kid, ADHD did not exist.
Right. It was barely when I was a kid. It was just starting.
Yeah, there's no such thing as ADHD. It was just you were being a bad child.
Exactly.
So does that mean that there's less or more ADHD now? You see what I mean?
Right.
It's like it can't be quantified exactly. A lot of people are saying, yeah, there's a lot of starseeds, but both of my kids are psychic as freaking crap. And I have been through the gift of being able to walk through generations. I have traced my personal psychic gift back into the 16th century.
Wow.
So it's always been there. It's just whether it's acknowledged or not.
Yes, I mean, humanity in ancient past, they were fully aware of these gifts. They communicated psychically. Some tribes, indigenous tribes, they have almost a hive mind where they don't even speak. They just know exactly what's going on. They communicate telepathically. We were more advanced in a way as we move into this material technological society. We were more ethereally technological back then, but it's been suppressed, like you were saying. But the great part about it now, it seems perhaps that we are reawakening that power. We are regaining that again.
I think what we're regaining, and I really want to say, believe it or not, social media has something to do with this.
I agree.
It's compassion for others is understanding that we're all human. We all have problems. We all want love. We all want safety. We all want security. We all want new things in our lives. And we all want to feel like we're special. All of us.
Yes.
But we don't want to feel like we're different.
Well, we are all one, and we all are light beings first, and we have these physical vehicles. But yes, you're right, that social media aspect, the good of it is the fact that we were all able to connect around the world and see, like you were saying, that we all have these similar experiences because we are all human. There's just archetypal, you could say, behaviors. We want love, like you said, compassion, to be healthy, to be happy, all of those things, and to feel important. And interestingly, I've always felt that this was one of the most powerful aspects of the divine experience, is that divinity is with everyone, with every thought, and in your presence all over the world with all of those people. And it's just so much energy when you quantify that.
Yeah, that's true. And whenever I come across a client, I remember the very first time that I was working with a client and they were denying their innate divinity. And my guides chirp up and say, well, let me ask you this. It was because I was channeling for them. And they said, can you fog a mirror? And they went, excuse me? And they said, well, if you were to breathe on a mirror, would it create fog? And my client said, yes, it would. And they said, well, congratulations. That means you deserve.
Because you're alive. You're a living being. You're here.
That's it.
Wow. That's powerful. So you're talking about channeling your guides, but you also talk about channeling the council of truth.
That's them.
That is your guides. Okay, I want to know all about this.
They're very similar to, well, they're a collective of ascended masters, very similar to Abraham. They're just a collective that knows shit, is how I talk about it.
Okay.
I mean, they're playful, they're funny. They can be like the can you fog a mirror thing. Congratulations, you win. And there's the deep level of just, they're so precise. They're lucky that my mother was an English major and really, really forced me to read a lot, because the vocabulary, they want to be so precise in their words. And it's almost legal. Like, remember I talked about, they want to talk about universal law all the time, but they're always using a legal point of view. Like, this is not germane to the point, to the thing at hand and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, the guides say that this isn't what we need to talk about. We need to talk about something else instead. You're throwing up a smokescreen. But they're going to come in my head and say that. I am a very clear channel, so I can hear them and then I can translate, or else let them come forward directly.
Wow. So tell me, how did you connect with them originally? Is this because of the near-death experiences? What were your first connection points?
Oh, wow. My very first connection point was me sitting on a beautiful spring. Why does it always happen in the spring? It's always April, because it was April 15th when I died, and it was never mind.
There's some synchronicity there.
Anyway, I was sitting in a beautiful April, and in Nashville, April is pretty gorgeous. And I was just wondering about timelines. You know what I mean? Wondering about timelines. And so I went into this deep understanding. I still could do the leaving the body and the moving to different areas. And I went into this really wide open study of what a timeline would look like for various and sundry planets, which is interesting. I don't know why I would do that. And as I was coming back in, I heard a voice talking to me. Then, like I'm clairaudient, and we hear things all the time. And so I know what my own voice sounds like, and I know what my own, ego sounds like, or whatever. This was not my voice. And I said, who are you? And what are you doing in my head, kind of a thing? And they said, well, you asked a question and you came by us. Evidently, I'd gone far enough out. You came by us and we heard you. We're here to answer your question. And I'm like, okay, sure.
Wow. And then how did you eventually identify them, or did they identify themselves right away?
They did. When I said, who are you? They said, we are Abraham. And I said, wait a minute, that name has been trademarked. I can't call you that. So,
which is interesting. That's a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah. And I said, if you want to be with me and if you'd like me to help you, because that was later on in the conversation. That's when I asked them who they were. They said, well, if you, then we will talk about our function. Our function to act as a counsel. And they said, for truth. And I said, it sounds better to be counsel up. Will you accept that? And they go, yeah. But as a counsel for truth was originally what was going on.
Interesting. So then this helped you build your own abilities, probably helped you with affirming your situations over the years as you treated clients.
No, they freaking healed me.
Right.
I mean, seriously, no, what they did is they worked on like I said, oh, this was a big one. And remember, folks at home, never ask for something you don't really truly want. Remember this. I was quietly sitting and I said, I'd been reading Pema Chodron's books because she's an amazing author. I don't know if anybody has ever read Pema.
I've heard of her. I haven't read any.
Oh, amazing descriptions and discussions on the concepts of Buddhism. And so I was curious and trying to understand this. And I said, well, I wonder what Tonglen is like. Could you please explain I said to the council, will you please explain Tonglen? And not only did they explain it, they threw me face first into remember those flash pictures that people used to do in, at the beginning of Big Bang, they do that bing, 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 it was like my life just hitting me just like that, going, okay, this is anger. Boom, 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 boom. This is, understand what this means. And then this is shame. Boom, 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 boom. Understand what this means. And in a period of a torturous 4 hours, I did the entire process of Tonglen. And because they just said, here you go. Whew, I'm still, my body still remembers how literally torturous that was, but it was so freeing because the point of Tonglen is to understand the messages of the hard emotions so the hard emotions don't run you.
Right. The bitterness, the resentment, things like that.
All of those, and to be able to feel them to the point where they no longer own you.
Wow. So you did all of that in one session?
In 4 hours, yeah.
Oh my God. That's intense.
Thanks to them.
Right. You had some serious support.
At the time, it didn't feel like support. It felt a little bit like torture.
Well, they were making sure you were at least not going to just die or dissipate into the ether.
Oh, they wouldn't let me die. I tried in 2005.
Right.
Seriously, this is a true story. And I still shake my head. They kept urging me to stand up and do this work, right? Remember, you started the beginning of this conversation about, yes, you have this calling, but are you really going to do it? You're going to avoid it. And I'm like, yeah. Okay, it's 2005. I'd been avoiding it for a hot little minute, right? And at the time, there was a pretty bad influenza going around. It was the swine flu. I don't know if anybody remembers it.
I remember.
I caught it.
Really?
And I got really, really sick. And anybody who's ever had pneumonia can feel that rattling in your chest, And I knew my temperature was high. I knew I was struggling to breathe. And I knew I was dying. And the council came in and said, get up, go to the doctor. You're dying. And I said back to them, I would rather die than work for you. So no, thank you. I'm going to lay here and die. And, and they said, you promised. And I said, I have free will.
Whoa.
And then they said, watch this. 5 minutes later, if that, I don't know, time is really hazy when you're sick, but it felt like 1001, 1002. My newly licensed 16-year-old daughter walks in my room to ask me a question, as 16-year-olds do, and said, oh my God, Mom, you're blue, threw me in the car and took me to the hospital. I had no choice. And so I'm like, okay, Uncle, you guys win. I will do this.
Because you would have just kept experiencing situations that would have kept reminding you to get on the path because it was that important.
Oh yeah. The message they have is, and now I am doing it. I'm standing up. I'm explaining. I'm teaching. I'm helping people. And the cool part about it is, in my human way, I made it so hard, and it's so freaking simple. It's so effortless.
You know, some people have so much trouble surrendering to their higher purpose because they feel like they wanted it to go a certain way, but not realizing that their higher self, like we were talking about earlier, made the choice to come here based on certain parameters. And not only that, there should be a level of spiritual awareness for the individual to say, I dedicate my life to service. And the universe, divinity, however people say that, is saying that my service should show up this way. I humbly accept I will serve in that way. So many people have that problem, humbly accepting and surrendering to the service, not realizing that that surrender and that service is going to be infinitely more rewarding than what they thought they wanted to do.
In my case, it wasn't that I wanted me to serve in a certain way. I was under the misconception, because I was female and born at a certain time, that service meant sacrifice. And I thought I had to cut off a piece of myself to help everybody. I was completely misconstrued, that I thought that helping people meant hurting me.
Right. And not transmuting the situation to make it benefit everyone, including yourself.
And once I understood that I was just the conduit, I'm just the freaking radio.
Right.
Literally. The radio doesn't hurt itself when it tunes in. I mean, maybe if you turn it up too loud, you'll blow a speaker, but you get what I mean. It just is. And once I stepped back and saw how freaking simple it is. And interestingly, anybody who understands human design, I was literally put on this earth to be a radio. I'm a projector, and only my third eye and my throat chakras are defined, which basically I'm a receiver and a radio and a speaker. I'm a receiver and a speaker, and that's it. Everything else is undefined. And so I was literally put on this earth to be a radio.
And so many of us, I believe, are here to do that type of service where we really are just meant to be a conduit for those higher energies, those higher frequencies, those higher teachings. And did the Council of Truth, did they help you develop your bliss system, the quantum alignment system?
They handed it to me on a freaking platter.
Wow. Okay.
They have helped me out so much. And you know what? Just like everything they do, it's so simple. You want me to explain what it is?
Please. Yes.
Okay. B is check what the heck you're believing.
Yes.
Just check it. Remember, I believe that service meant sacrifice. Not true. So check your beliefs. Make sure what you believe is true. You know, what is true, what isn't true, right? L, listen to the language you are choosing because it betrays your point of view, even if you can't see it. Like, remember when we talked about judging and
using the word better or worse, right?
Bingo, right. Where it just isn't. It's so listen to yourself, but also it means listen to the inside as well as the outside. Listen to your intuition. So the L stands for listening. And of course, I stands for allowing the intuition to speak louder than you do. Instead of shooting it down and with your beliefs.
Right. Second guessing it, triple second guessing it, and then putting it through some filter of, well, that can't be real because of the Matrix says it's not.
Yeah. It's like the story of the poor grown man that I met who wouldn't eat his crust because he was told as a child it would make his hair curly.
Right.
And you're like, dude, bless your heart. And the next one stands for S.
Yes.
You know, it stands for the seeing. S is seeing. And a good example of that is if you create a belief, you are going to see what you expect to see. And if you uncreate it, you're going to see what's actually there.
Wow.
And so when you see what's actually there, then all of the apparatus that you have created around that belief just falls away, and you can flow through truth easily. You can feel safe to listen to your intuition because you can actually see what's there. So it all starts with the belief. It all starts with the programming. It all starts with that energetic standing wave. What is it? And then, and the cool thing about it, and we've seen this, like, for example, there's this thing where I saw the other day that Grant Cardone was, like, drop me penniless and I'll make $1 million in a very short time, because he could see what was available, right? Or there's the people who do the trade, they believe, or they created a truth that is actually true, that I can create this thing, whatever it is, and therefore it's created. So understand, belief runs both ways. I believe it's available, or I believe it's unavailable. And if I believe it is unavailable, then I won't be able to see it, and I won't have any intuition guiding it, and I won't be able to hear what it says. I can't listen for the information coming to me, or I can't listen to myself blocking it. Do you get it?
Yes.
And so in the final one, this is in true guide form, is when you catch yourself doing it, S stands for start over. You never end. It never ends. Keep going. You got to keep rocking through it. You may never end.
Right.
Just start the frick over.
Yeah, course correction. Just get back on course.
Yeah. And it all starts with that simple B. Just, what do we actually believe here? What am I actually seeing because of this belief?
So what are some of the things we can do then to uncreate those walls, those beliefs that are there that aren't authentic, that aren't actually true, but then are shaping the reality that we live in?
Well, my first thing, and I think this is pretty basic, is, that voice in your head that's narrating your life?
Yes. Your inner dialogue, people say.
Yeah. Listen to it. Just for a second. Say it out loud, and then ask yourself, is this how I really see life? Is this what I want to see? Because remember, we're co-creating with that voice.
Right.
We are walking through the vortex, co-creating with that voice. And so if we don't want to create what that thing is saying, talk back to it. Is this what you really see? Is this what you really believe? I used to also say to the voice, if it would start talking shit, I'm like, how are you helping? You are not helping right now. Go sit down. Put on that full mother voice.
But there is some data there that's trying to be analyzed, even though it's negative and you have to smack it down internally, as you're saying. There's still some data that your subconscious wants presented for analysis, even though it's irrelevant.
Yes, and I'm going to yes and that as well. Here's the thing. What that voice is narrating is your point of view. It is not narrating the truth. And here's how I can prove that. What that voice is narrating is your point of view, right? It's the glasses that you put on that are seeing what you're going to see. And I got proof. Anybody who has ever been, let's just say, had their bell rung really, really well, been rocked and rolled at night, and wake up the next morning, everything looks beautiful and fun, doesn't it? It's like, oh, what a beautiful day. I'm in such a good mood. I just don't know why. Because you have the glasses of the afterglow on. And so nothing is bothering, which is why people who are first in love think everything is nice. You're bound in, like, oh my goodness, I just cut off my finger, but I still love you. And, it's our point of view. So when that voice is doing negative Nancy, it could be that there's just a tiny adjustment that could be done. And you can stop it and go, what's really going on here? What are you really pissed about? Are you pissed because you got passed over for this? Or are you pissed because you didn't get to go out to eat last night? Or what are you pissed about? Let's deal with what's actually going on before we ruin our entire week with this voice. So yes, there is something that needs to be processed. But a lot of times, just like everybody is treating the symptoms of their diseases instead of the problem, that voice is not talking about the actual problem.
Right. It's
just
a
symptom.
Wow. It's an expression of the problem. It's not the core problem. And that's something we need to identify, you're saying. So then as we develop ourselves, as we start to integrate this quantum alignment, what are some of the things that start to happen? Are we increasing our manifestation ability? Are our relationships improving? What is happening as we realign ourselves?
I'm sorry to laugh, but my guys just started singing When You Wish Upon a Star in my head. Everything your heart desires.
Because you're unlocking the true human potential.
Yeah. But I'm not trying to say that, you get in alignment and you've got the golden ticket. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you become more neutral. I saw an interview with a Buddhist monk the other day, and somebody asked him, "Are you happy?" And he says, "I'm not looking for happiness. I'm looking for contentment and neutrality and peace." So the true knowingness of being in full alignment is whatever happens next is okay. Right. It may not be wonderful, but it's all okay.
Right, because there is that higher perspective, the God's eye view, that quantum understanding that knows that everything's happening exactly how it should be, and that situation is there to teach you something.
Or sometimes it's not there to teach you something, it just is.
Right.
Here's an example.
Okay.
I worked really hard to get an office in this place when I used to see people in person. There's parts of Nashville that are cooler than other parts, and I wanted to get an office near Music Row, and I missed out on that office, and I thought my life was over. And then I had this, the voices of the guides came in, and they had something to say about it, which was, why are you thinking if you didn't get what you wanted, life is over? You simply were going in the wrong direction. And the very next day, I got called and said, I heard you were looking for an office. We've got one over and there was another place that was even cooler than Music Row, in the coolest part of town where all the cool kids were. And I was like, wow.
You were even happier.
I got an office there. and then I was like, oh, wow, you're right. I was being guided. So when bad things happen, it isn't that we have a lesson to learn. It could be that you're just being guided.
Interesting. But it is all part of some unfoldment, some blossoming, some story that's yours.
I would more call it, you're just walking down the road and you put in, or you're driving and you put in your GPS and said, I want to go to X. And so it's all part of going to X. That's all it is. If you put it in now, if you have not put it in your GPS, then, you could be just wandering around, you could be getting off at any old exit. You never know. And showing up and then cursing yourself. You weren't supposed to get off at that exit. It's like, you have to know. My guides are telling me, no, you don't. I was about to say you have to know what you want until you get what you want, but that's not true. You have to know where you want to be. And you have to know where you want to feel good, like where it is in your universe feels right to you. You don't have to know where it is or what it is. You just have to know a soul level, this destination, I don't know what it is, but I feel that I'm going there. Do you understand?
Yes, because that would give you maximum fulfillment as a being.
Bingo. Yes, that's it. And they're reminding me of when I was in my 20s and I turned down a marriage proposal and everybody thought I was insane because I knew that was not my destination with that human. Even though that was a really, really nice human, I knew it wasn't right. And that's it. You know, it was like I was letting my soul guide me, saying that there's a different opportunity. You got to stay on the interstate here. You don't get off this exit yet, kind of a thing.
Right. And following that and knowing that isn't the path, but that destination you're talking about, setting the course for that should be the main focus. But do you think collectively, though, that if we all set a course, we all align in that way and get ourselves in alignment, that will help our beautiful human race move forward and help to heal this planet?
Council said planet doesn't need healing.
Okay.
They said planet will be fine if the humans would get off of it.
There is some physical truth there. I could agree with that part. However, we're part of the earth. I mean, everything our body is made of comes from the earth. The spirit,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this is part of their cheekiness. This is them.
Yeah. Humor pervades all dimensions. That's something we talk about on this show a lot. The divine experience can be fun and funny.
Oh, it's hilarious. So essentially what you are talking about is having the humans stop killing each other and start feeling better.
Right. And remember that we're one human family.
We are. And we are well on that way. Yeah. Oddly enough, we are well on that way. There are so many. Oh, they're saying we got way off course there for a while, but we're back heading in the right direction. And it's not going to feel good. It has to feel it just like any temper tantrum. Evidently humans are having a temper tantrum. Just like any temper tantrum, it looks really bad right before it ends.
Interesting. So this is what's happening right now as we're integrating these new higher frequencies collectively. It's shocking for the general consciousness that they're having a temper tantrum. Something to that effect.
Yeah, it's funny how they call it a temper tantrum, but that's what human race is. You know, that the energy feels like a temper tantrum.
So you're saying essentially that collectively, not us per se, individually, me and you and the people listening, we're on that frequency for the most part, but generally people aren't ready to accept this. Usually when people have temper tantrums, children, it's because something's happening that they don't want, or they're not getting something that they do want. Is it a resistance reaction?
Yeah. What's going on is there is a small population of people who want things. And they're making it uncomfortable for all the other people who don't want that. And it's rippling all through the world. And so the more it becomes difficult for the small population of people who want to control the larger population of people, the more they have a temper tantrum about it. And the more they use fear and propaganda to control them. It's an age-old trick. The guys are saying that this has been tried and true. You tell people a lie enough, they will believe it. And they're talking about Sparta in Greece.
Right. There's several examples.
They told enough people that lie that the Spartans created that society. And it was a very cruel society, evidently.
Interestingly, I'm part Spartan, believe it or not.
Are you really?
Yeah. 30% Greek, and it's been traced back to Sparta. I'm pretty nice, though. I'm a really nice guy.
Yeah, you survived. You were lucky. But it was a really, really tiered and very, very caste society, and it was a hard society to live in, and it was based on power and force.
Absolutely, and again, it's an expression of humanity that has shown up several times. It's a resistance to the greater love. It's scarcity. It's probably rooted in scarcity. People want to control resources, control thinking, control growth. But at the end of the day, the truth is surrendering to that greater flow. And there's always going to be an opposing force, it seems, but collectively, as we move into this higher vibration, that opposing force won't be able to resonate with those frequencies, and we'll be up there. And that opposing force, if it has to exist by universal law, will show up in a different way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Here, I told you how precise my guides want to be.
Yes.
They want to be super precise. They say nothing has to do anything. You use the word has to.
Ooh.
Nothing has to do anything.
Right.
And so in the case of universal law, the law will always execute, and how the humans align with it is entirely their choice. And it is based on overwhelming vibrational energy. So what they're talking about is more of the image of overtopping a dam so the dam will break, rather than us stepping into a collective consciousness. We're all on this river. We're all there, and we're all flowing in that direction. And so there is always a collective consciousness, and there are people who want to use the dam, and there are people who don't want to use a dam. And they don't trust that the water will flow where it's supposed to flow without the dam. And that is ultimately what's going on. And so nobody has to do anything. Yeah, nobody has to do anything. But eventually, if there's a large enough volume of water, the dam will be overtopped.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So
isn't that an easy image to understand?
It is. I mean, Rupert Sheldrake talks about it. So many other spiritual people talk about this ascension of energy as we add to each other's resonant frequency, that will build, and then it shifts the very fabric of the co-created reality we live in. But there are universal laws. There are things that are ingrained in the fabric of energetic reality that we have to understand. Now, how do universal laws play into what you're talking about?
If you think of universal laws as being the framework in which this dance plays out, the universal laws are not the dam. They are not the water. They are the framework in which the tableau plays out. And so they essentially are the rule book for the game. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Some would say it's the universe's modus operandi, like how it works in form.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to explain it. And humans haven't defined all of them yet. Really? We haven't? Gee, we've done a lot of. They said humans haven't defined all of them yet because humans are incapable of expanding to the level of some of the laws.
Right. That makes sense. I'm sure there's universal laws in the dimension of holographic geometry that don't even really apply to the material form, or they do, but in such a distant way that we don't even need to comprehend that as individual material beings.
Actually, what they're saying is you cannot comprehend something you have never been able to experience.
Exactly. But like you said, some people have tapped into these. Some people have defined these universal laws. Everyone knows the law of attraction because of The Secret, but there's so many other ones. The law of vibration, the law of divine compensation, the law of supply. Tell me some of the universal laws that you feel like people should know the most about that will help them currently.
It's the law of purpose is the first one.
Tell me about that.
The law of purpose says, if you are here, then you definitely you're here for a reason. No, there is, you're not just here accidentally. You're here on purpose.
So every single being, which of course, most spiritual traditions would tell you that, but every single being, every single creature, everyone here has a specific purpose. There's some role in the evolution of life itself.
It's more like when you look at how nature flows together, there are a million different ways for a unit of energy to survive in conjunction with others. And together they make a collection of beings that serve the purpose for an entire ecosystem. Each one of those things has a purpose. So in the human ecosystem, because you can fog a mirror, you belong here. You are here. Because you are breathing, you do have a purpose. Nobody incarnates for no reason.
That's incredible. But their purpose, that's something that they have to discover. There's a purpose, but it's something they have to tap into. You're saying no?
Here's a story.
I love this. This is amazing. Please,
This was one of the most bizarre stories. A couple wanted me to work with their child who had very severe cerebral palsy and was unable to speak. I mean, just was completely nonverbal. And she was about 3 or 4, and they wanted a way to talk with her. And they understood that some of the work I do literally rewires, and they wanted me to fix her. And for those of you who can't see, I just did air quotes on fixing. And I was able to have a conversation with her through, I don't know how, I guess because I'm clairaudient, but I was able to tap into her ability to speak, and she was able to talk to me, and it was kind of a cool thing, not gonna lie. It was really cool. But through a series of questions and answers, she was here to say that I am not, this is my purpose. I do not want to change, Mom and Dad. I'm not broken. I am here experiencing life in this body. And this is my purpose. And I'm happy. Please love me for as long as I'm here. And that just wrecked her. It wrecked me too. But her soul had a purpose, and she knew her purpose.
That's really interesting. You know, some people would say that people like that, and I've had guests talk about this, that they're anchoring a specific energy, a specific frequency, the new earth energy. And that's part of their purpose.
Yeah. We are such human doers that we believe we're here to, like we've got that Judeo-Christian work ethic, literally, and some of us pounded into our bodies, right? You lazy thing, get out here and get to work. But that's the old paradigm. We're not human doers. We're human beers.
There you go.
And so when we find where we feel most comfortable, that is our purpose.
And that's success, some people would say as well. Some great prosperity teachers. Tell me what you think about this. This is an equation, a simple equation that I came up with a guest one day when we were talking about this one episode. Talent plus service equals purpose. Meaning, if you discover your talent, you figure out what's you really dial that in, and it's you, and it's an expression of you. You turn that into your service, and you're out there exercising your talents as your service. Turns out that's your purpose. What do you think about that?
My guide said no.
Okay.
You know what they said? Joy plus expression equals purpose.
So you're expressing the joy, the thing that activates the love, the core essence of your being.
Yeah. Everybody has things that they're really good at. And most people discount those things because they're good at them. But if you enjoy doing them and you're really good at them, if you allow some way, like everybody thinks their purpose is some way to make money. If you do the things that bring you joy more than you do the things that you feel like you have to do, then your quote unquote purpose will blossom through that joy. So essentially it's joy plus expressing that joy. Like, you don't want to bottle up the stuff that makes you joyful and makes, Virginia Woolf called it moments of being. You want to spend more time in your moments of being than you want to spend in, moments of have tos,
right,
or shoulds.
And people, your joy, the byproduct of your joy can be money. It can be extreme monetary success, but it's not the money you should be going after. It's the joy and the expression of that joy, you're saying.
Well, the money okay, guys, get really clear on this. They're saying the joy that you feel in a moment of being is the goal of human expression. So when you have this moment of joy and you allow yourself to express it, then you can find a way for that expression to bring you some sort of, abundance.
Yes.
Either, like, for example, people have gotten notoriety and abundance for doing almost anything on this earth. It's people can get money for weird stuff.
Oh, absolutely. The pet rock of the 80s.
Yes. It doesn't matter. So it's whatever brings you joy and you express it, chances are your abundance will follow there, because when you are living in your joy, your vibration is higher.
Right.
That's just a given.
Yes.
And so as your vibration is higher, then you have a more fulfilled life. The whole point of being on this freaking planet is to learn how to enjoy it.
Yes, because we're here for 5 minutes. We're literally here for 5 minutes as this being, and then we're off to the next experience. And when we're on our deathbed, if we get to experience that, time compresses and you feel like your whole life went by really, really fast. And then there you are. So like you said, you have to live in your joy, live in your fulfillment, and get aligned. The quantum alignment. This is what you teach people. This is what you help people understand.
Yes, I do. It's shockingly simple. I mean, we can call it quantum alignment, but what it is we are taking your Newtonian physical body and getting all the rocks out of the system so it can flow on the multiple layers that are available to it.
Right. Because there are these blocks, people feel stuck. There are these paradigms and programming and all of these things in there that are getting us out of alignment, but you're saying you can remove those. And this is part of the things that you teach and what you help people understand.
Yeah. And the most hilarious thing, and the thing that has forever surprised me, is 90% of the pain that humans live is actually misconception. I mean, yeah, there were bad things that happened to a lot of people. We're not discounting any bad things, but a lot of times when you were taught a certain thing and you decided what it meant, it might not have been the lesson that they were trying to teach you as a kid. You see what I mean? And so in the way most humans are parented, it's always being caught doing something wrong and not taught how to do it right. Whereas nowadays, parents try to teach children how to do it right before they teach them what wrong is. And so when you have to make it up as you go along, sometimes you make it up wrong. And that's where the blocks come from. Interesting.
Wow. Humans, we have so much to learn, but we have grown so much. Like you said, parents now are doing better. Humanity itself is growing. The parents are integrating new information. And this, again, is what you teach people. We've had such an incredible conversation, but I can't even believe an hour and a half has gone by. This is like mind blowing. We were outside of time, but I want to tell people where to find you. SallyReid.com. And I'm going to spell this SallyReid.com, SallyReid.com. You can find out everything about her there. She has private coaching. So if you're like really feeling this episode, you understand how epic it is. We've had this powerful rapport. You can have a rapport too. Go to her website. You can set up a coaching session. She has an alignment year program, which is a year-long immersive program. And she has other courses as well. Again, all on SallyReid.com. What an incredible conversation, Sally. I feel like we've really touched on a lot of really powerful things. We've gone in a lot of great directions, and we've really helped people understand some of the things that may be holding them back. But is there anything else you feel like we should leave people with before we go?
It's not as hard as you think it is. That's the main thing. And also follow me on social media. I'm Bliss Life Coach.
Bliss Life Coach, Instagram.
Bliss Life Coach on Instagram and Bliss Life _coach on TikTok. Okay. And I may be, I think I am, it's Bliss Life _coach on Instagram as well.
Okay. Bliss Life _coach. Fantastic. Yes, people. Yeah. SallyReid.com, Bliss Life _coach, Instagram, Bliss Life _coach, TikTok. It's not as hard as you think, people. It's all part of something. There is a design to it. There is a functionality, but there is free will. Part of us being here is learning all of this and growing as a human. So, and you've really helped with that, Sally. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. You're right. This hour and a half it just went like that.
Well, that's how you know it's a good one. That's how you know we were in sync in the same resonant frequency, just like all of our listeners listening now. So again, thank you so much for being here, Sally. Please hold through the outro music, and everyone else, again, check out her website, SallyReid.com. She's on Instagram, TikTok. Check her out. Perhaps get some private coaching. Listen to what we're talking about, and we will see you next week. Midnight on Earth.